I tried to make this a 27-second show because I feel like that's all we really need to talk about. But Justin apparently wouldn't take that. This is our second attempt. We tried to lay out the show. Justin asked me, what is your view today? What should we add? You have any big topics you want to talk about? And my response, depression. Just depression. We're going to get into the good, the bad, and the mostly ugly on today's episode of Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, everyone. That's Justin. I'm Jeff. This is Locked On Guardians, where Amed Rosario had one pitch in the foul zone, in the strike zone, and managed to strike out on 7 pitches with the bases loaded. Because that's how the way things work right now are. I'm a little frustrated. Very frustrated. It got to the point.
I'm ready to fall asleep.
It got to the point before we started. I'm like, oh, hey. I was like, something's off in here. And I walked around the basement and I was like, is the Guardians, are they so terrible that I'm smelling them? No, it's just a litter box. That's where we are.
Ouch. That's rough.
This offense is litter box. Okay. I can't use other words, but this offense is 100% litter box right now. And I mean, everyone was litter box today. A whole lot. You're facing Mike Clevenger. Everyone was terrible. Everything stinks. Burn it all down. I'm kidding. There are some fun things to talk about internally. We'll get into that. I don't think you've
are they fun though?
Your first listen today and every day. Hey, Joey Cantillo, Shawn Rapp. That's kind of fun. You like it's two lefties we both like. That's some positives to pull. Everything else in this game though, I prefer cleaning my litter box.
In the words of Jamie Tart, it's poupe. It's all poupe.
It's all
Jamie Tart. Let's throw some good pop. Ted Lasso was great this week. Ted Lasso is great every week.
I need to catch up.
Ted Lasso makes me happy. The Guardians make me sad.
It's all terrible. So terrible.
We rushed to go on and start recording so full disclosure, recording in the top of the 7th. We started recording when Amed Rosario came up with the bases loaded and struck out. We rushed to record because we're like, oh, maybe something good will happen. And
nothing good ever happens.
We'll genuinely feel good about something, but no, it's not. Right now,
again, what drives me nuts with this is I'm sitting here looking at, I have game day on because if I have the video fade on, I'll just lose my entire internet. But it's like, again, for this team, for as a team that's, they have to live with their selectivity. It's like Amed Rosario is swinging at things that are outside the zone. Even, we got Andres Jimenez, 2 of his. For Amed, 1 out of 7 pitches he faced was in the zone. So far for Andres, it's he's at 1 out of 8 pitches in the zone, and he's got a full count. With 1 out of 8 in the zone.
Yeah, he's a bunch of pitches, but
he did, and so did Amed. But at the same time, maybe lay off the one, like his 7th pitch, his foul. This should have been a 3-2 count before the 8th pitch. Like that one was darn near a foot. And there we go with the. Okay, good, another foul. But yeah, it's just everything's terrible. It's all terrible. I wish I had anything positive to say offensively, but they are just offensive. Which part do we want to start with? I've got a big issue with some of the things that occur with this team and the approach. We were talking beforehand. The value of a hitting coach is overstated, but it just feels like this team is making 0 adjustments.
Yeah, I think the value of a hitting coach is to look at each guy and try to make
adjustments.
Not make adjustments, but to analyze and be like, okay, look at what has made them successful or what they do well. Because anymore, hitting coach, you look at 2 things. You're helping a guy. This is why you have 2 guys. This is why you had Victor Rodriguez and he's not here anymore, but Justin Tooley was one of the guys.
God, I feel like they're missing those guys who aren't here, the guys that they lost.
I don't know. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, last year everybody wanted to sing Chris Valleca's praises because the offense, even though it was mediocre at the end of the year, it was literally middle of the pack. But you expect your hitting coach. There's a lot more I don't want to say analytics is not the right word. I actually would say almost biomechanical. You're looking at movement patterns. This is how being a hitting coach has evolved. You're not just looking at, your swing is, you're pulling off. And yeah, there's like mechanical things you look at, but it's biomechanics, it's movement patterns. It's, you're not starting your lows soon enough. Your hands are drifting back. It's all those little mechanical things. You're looking to see how guys can best use their body to get themselves in hitting positions. Like the best way I've ever heard it explained was Junior Betances last year, a couple of years ago in Akron, and it had to do with Oscar Gonzalez. And it was talking about how he was getting more hand and hip separation because it allowed him to react to breaking balls better. So he was out front on breaking balls way too often, and he, found a way to keep his weight back, which is, a big part for hitters. And it allowed him to react to breaking balls, but still be prepared for fastballs. And that worked for him in Akron. That's why he was able to make his, major league debut in 2022. Hasn't really carried over this year, unfortunately, for the most part. And we're not shocked by that. I mean, maybe he'll get it back. Maybe he won't, but it was always a risky profile. But yeah, hitting coaches anymore. Like you're looking at scouting reports for Mike Clevenger, Lance Lynn, and you're saying, here's what you can do to be successful against what this guy does. And here's how he might attack you. And here's your body, your biomechanics, your body movement profile, and what you need to do. Like, I don't know, because my whole thing with Ty Van Berkeley was this: everybody didn't like the guy, and I want to be careful how I say this, but I think there is an element of ageism that comes into this. Like we talk about older guys, especially this applies to Tito and applies to a lot of things in the world right now. Talking about age and how they can't keep up, but like
you can if you choose. I think we've seen with our own media coverage here. Someone like Zach, who is fantastic and knows this stuff before I know it. And I consider myself someone who's analytical and explains it so well. And then you think about others, and I'm not going to name names. But if you know that there's two prominent guys who probably struggle to understand what on base percentage is, let alone launch angle or expected WOBA.
Okay, going back though, my whole point was like with Ty Van Berkeley is you can't give him flank steak and expect filet mignon. Like you can't give him Oscar Mercado and Bobby Bradley,
who was just called up.
He wasn't. Bradley Zimmer and all these other guys that have been around for a couple of years just were not good hitters. And you think, well, why aren't they hitting? It's the pitching coach's fault. Well, how do you expect someone to give you a 4-course meal with cat food? Like you just can't. And I'm not saying these guys aren't great hitters either. Let's be honest. Like the line the Guardians have is very slanted to one type of player. You're trying to balance it out, hoping for power with Josh Bell, Mike Zeno. That's failing right now, and it's May 18th. So, we said it yesterday. They were lucky to be in the division they were in because otherwise they'd be buried right now. But
yeah, they'd be done.
And maybe that buys them enough time for guys like Bell and Zunino to find their hot streaks and get out of it. But you're leaning on one prototype of hitter and without this lineup, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And guess what? We're going to find out because there's nowhere else to go. Like you could eventually, hope to inject George Valera into it, who's a somewhat different type of hitter. This is why people were upset about the Nolan Jones trade, and they fell. They fell. I don't want to say fell in love, but they leaned towards a preference of guys like Will Brennan, Oscar Gonzalez, and faded away from Nolan Jones. And they turned him into a hitter that they already have in their system. Like, he's not a Juan Brito. I like him, but he's not that much different than the guys they already have. Plus, he's in high A on the 40-man roster. So, like, it's weird management. So, for better or for worse, you have collected a lot of this archetype, and you got to find out if 2022 is a fluke or if these guys are just all going through sophomore slumps regression at the same time, and you could find a way to bring them out of it or get them to adjust to the big league level.
It's more than that, though. And I'll give you an example of how I know it's more than that. There are 260 hitters in baseball this year. 260. If you rank them by launch angle, Juan Segura and Tim Anderson are the only ones with negatives.
Hey, Gene Segura hits home runs the other day, just saying.
Yeah, Lars Nootbaar is at 258. Nick Madrigal, 257. Alejandro Kirk, we talked about, 256.
And they loved Nick Madrigal, remember?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did too. I can't. But Josh Bell, 255. His launch angle is 2.4 this year.
And he's talked about it. He's talked about when his launch angle is bad, he gets in trouble. He's aware of it.
He was an 8.4 last year. League average is a 12.1 if you're curious. So that's like, yeah, he had the hardest hit ball tonight for the Guardians, and most nights he does, but it doesn't matter. It's like, I get people who sometimes, and this is Ty Freeman's been fine tonight, but I get people like, hey, he is hitting the ball 109 miles an hour. It doesn't matter because his launch angle is 8 degrees. Like, it doesn't matter if you're hitting the ball hard when your launch angle is that low. If you're curious, Jose Ramirez is 16th. He does have a good launch angle. He's over 20. 23rd is Mike Zunino, who just can't make contact. So
remind people what is good at launch angle. So as the Guardians lead the base score, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, they got one run. Thanks to a walk.
Let's cut the cake.
Like, it's ridiculous. I mean, pop up, strikeout, and I don't even care.
It was a walk. A walk drove in the run.
No, I know a walk, and then Will Brennan struck out.
Yeah. All right, let's
2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
but I'll explain launch angle after we come back from the break here. But I'll explain what it means, why a 2.4 is incredibly worrisome. And again, like, they need to be on that. Like, that to me is a sure sign of not being quick enough to adapt, because a 2.4 being a historical low for Josh Naylor and one of the worst in all of baseball, that shouldn't be happening.
Josh Bell.
Did I say Naylor? I meant to say Bell.
No.
But
don't crap on Naylor. He's already hurt. We need him.
He's 4th in launch angle on this team at 111th in baseball. So we'll get into that. But this is an important thing, and it's part of kind of why they're failing. So I'm going to explain why this offense is failing. One of the many myriad reasons, because when you're historically bad, there's a lot of reasons that you are pooping in the cat litter box, which is what this offense is right now. I'm still wearing my Birddogs. And hey, look here, if you sign up for Birddogs, this is, if you're looking on TV, this is the free thermos you get when you use our code. I couldn't find if it was machine washable, but I did wash it in the machine perfectly fine. Recommend Top Shelf. And these are Top Shelf pants. See what I did there? I enjoy them. They're very comfortable. And I think the best thing I can say about them is they look good, so you can wear them out in public. No one's going to notice or say anything. But they're comfortable enough if you want to sleep in them. They're pajama pants as well. It's the full gamut. It's like having fancy sweatpants that nobody knows are sweatpants. I am very tempted to use our promo code, get a second thermos, and go get some of the long pants. Get some pants I can wear to school, and people think that I'm walking around in dress pants, and instead, no, I'm in comfort. I am feeling comfortable. So head to Birddogs today. And specifically go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. I'm debating doing this. And when you enter the code LOCKEDON, they'll throw in a free custom Birddog Yeti style tumbler with every order, which I like my tumbler. Obviously, I'm using it. I love these pants. They got silly names, but they're very comfortable.
And if you can stomach things on Wednesday afternoon, your hometown call of the Guardians and the White Sox at 2:10 p.m. Eastern, Logan Allen and Dylan Cease, Tom Hamilton and Jim Rosenhaus on the Sirius XM dial. Search Guardians to catch all of the action. All right, Jeff, continue. Remind people who may not be sad. Well, just, remind them about, why. Explain what a good launch angle is.
Okay, so
I have a follow-up after you finish that, too.
Physics, okay? Or even just
science, woo!
Science. Ball, this is my bat. I swing. If I'm swinging low, like at a negative launch angle, I'm going to knock the ball into the ground. If you're not watching this, I'm sorry, you're missing me swing a pen. But if you connect at the wrong point with a bad launch angle, you hit the ball on the ground, it doesn't go anywhere. Negative launch angle, really bad. If you hit with a minor launch angle, it's going to go straight, but it's just going to go straight and fast, and that's fine. When you get some loft, the launch angle revolution, and your league average is about 12.1. Most home runs are closer to 20. Over 15 is considered good. So you get that. You're using this is all body motion mechanics. It's the idea that, like, as long as you can do this and maintain your whole swing, that loft is going to get better outcomes. So when you barrel a ball, which is hit in the right part of the bat, hit it over 100 miles an hour and hit it over that 15%, most of those are extra base hits, if not home runs. And the problem right now is, this team. So again, listen, Mike Zunino can't make contact to save his soul. If his all of his family members' lives were on the line, he would probably still not be able to foul off a ball right now. I understand that. I say this as someone who wanted this team to sign him, so I'm just going to be honest. But he's at least second on this team in launch angle. He's 23rd in baseball, and it's at a 19.4.
Yeah, Jeff, his launch angle can't go down when you don't make contact. It just stays what it was when he was making contact.
Isn't he still tied for the team lead in home runs, even though he hasn't made contact in a month?
Yeah, and you know what? Coming in tonight too, this was so sad. So no Josh Naylor, no Jose Ramirez. Yeah. The Guardians had 10 home runs I think it was 10 or 11 home runs as a team in the lineup tonight. If you added them all up.
10.
Luis Robert has 12. Luis Robert had more home runs on his own than the Guardians had in their entire lineup.
Jake Berger missed 3 years of baseball after being drafted, was thought to be like done for as a player. Came back in 2021 in limited roles, was not guaranteed a starting spot this year for the White Sox. And he's got 10 home runs.
And he's got one tonight. Two. Yeah, I was gonna say he's got 2 this series. Gavin Sheets.
But so again, you go down third on this team. Is Naylor. Fourth, Stephen Kwan at 13.3, which is not a good sign because that means he has a bottom 10 ISO. For those who don't know, that's isolated power. It's kind of a way to determine power patterns and
it's slugging percentage minus batting
average. So it's just the power part, which means that Kwan is either not barreling or not hitting for any exit velo. Yeah. So he's actually got a decent launch. And then Jimenez is next. And then after that, it's everyone else is well below that league average 12. And that's an issue.
And look, I want to be careful, or not, I want to be fair here too. Because they said this last year, and it does make sense. You don't want to take a cookie cutter approach to coaching anybody. No. Because that's what's been so good about pitching for them is that they do not develop pitchers with a cookie cutter approach, and you can't do that to hitters. I almost called them bench sheets. I miss bench sheets. Gavin Sheets just got tossed out of the game, so that was the highlight of the night watching that. You don't want to take a cookie cutter approach to coaching the hitters too, because you can't force guys whose skill sets don't allow them to do this. There was an argument online a few weeks ago about saying, these guys need more home runs. I don't think you want Stephen Kwan or Miles Straw
and he can't. Like his launch angle is good, but he's at 2% for barrel, so he never hits a good part of the ball. And he's 9% on exit velocity, so you got to hope he hits gaps like he did tonight.
Right. You don't want those guys swinging for the fences, but the only thing that matters here is you
need Bell too. Bell can't be at 2.4.
Yeah, well, he needs to be hitting for home runs. That's the problem. His swing just looks very disjointed. Like he is just slamming the ball into the ground, or he's popping it up. And
if it's a 2.4, he's basically just doing a straight swing. It's like he's getting no turn, no torque. He knows it's an issue, and they know it's an issue. And
it's a negative attack angle. That's what you were talking about before. It's when you have a negative attack angle with the bat, they call it a vertical barrel angle. It knocks the ball into the ground. So that's great if you can hit the ball 100 miles an hour or more. But if you're hitting it at the second baseman all the time, it doesn't really matter. But like I said, you don't want Stephen Kwan, Miles Straw trying home runs. And that's the problem with this team is you have a bunch of guys where you don't want them swinging for the fences, but you're relying on a lot of variance on balls in play. Like how many times last year did they hit the ball into the Bermuda Triangle in that corner between short, left, and third base converging that dropped? Like they scored a lot of runs that way. Jose Ramirez got the doubles that way. Kwan got doubles that way. Guys who are fast, they get extra bases that way. That's great, but it's a lot of luck and variance. And building your team around that type, everybody can go cold. This is what we talk about in the playoffs. Everybody can go cold. Everybody can go hot. How many guys, I asked this before the show, how many guys are out of baseball because all they could really do was hit an 88-mile-an-hour grounder at third base? Like, that's great. You made contact. You only strike out.
And it doesn't matter, honestly, if it's 88 or 188. Like, if it's a grounder to third base, it's a grounder to third base. Like, it does help you if it's got extra velocity, but like, if your launch angle is poor, like, again, it doesn't matter as much. But like, it's just as a team. And anyone who's listened to the show, I just celebrated my 4th year anniversary here, which means this is my 5th year doing this, knows, listen, I've been lower on on Tyler Freeman. I've been lower on Francisco Mejia. I've been lower on every type of guy who's exactly what this team
there
is
were a
built around.
lot of reasons to be low on Mejia, not just
there were, but like I also,
approach.
but just from a baseball perspective, these guys, what is the common ground? It's like none of them really walk at a high rate. None of them have power. You're talking doubles, singles, and relying on contact. And you can go back even further when I first started the show, and I was like, I have concerns that Oscar Mercado, after a great rookie year, he was very streaky, and there were signs that maybe that wasn't going to hold up because he is based on contact, and that's it. And that's a scary profile. And this team is built, in lots of teams, went all in on contact the past few years, but there's Oakland was another one, but you know what? Brent Rooker is helping balance that out. Ryan Noda is helping balance that out. This team didn't do, Josh Bell and Mike Zunino were supposed to be the balance, and instead they've been not good. I mean, right now it looks like you're going to be stuck with Bell for next year if he can't fix this. He's not going to opt out, and he's not going to be good enough to move or do anything with. And and again, I want to say this because I keep getting pushback. If Bo Naylor, I don't know what the catching metrics are this team uses. Everyone has their own internal system. If Bo Naylor was viewed to be ready, he'd be up. So I don't think it's necessarily about anything else. I don't know what they're looking for. I don't know the specific things they track and want. But I think right now with where they are with this team, with some of the issues, if someone was ready, if someone could help, I think they would be up. So Zunino is going to be there for a little bit longer. I do want to advocate for bringing Kevin Plawecki back, who has been pretty decent and just let go by the Nationals. Cam Gallagher, I can't say he's been fine. He did what he was needed to do, but he has been not good. So that's a small move I'd like to see. But I mean, in general, like this team is not, they're all doing the same things that have not been effective for the last month and a half. And no one's making good barrel contact. And that's like almost across the board. Like everyone's having career lows for barrels or just, a really low rate for it. And I mean, it's bad. And yeah, don't go look at Mike Zunino's page. Just don't do that to yourself on Baseball Savant. I've never seen so many first percentiles.
Well, I got some additional thoughts on Bo Naylor from some video I watched today. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Talk about some rehab assignments. We'll talk about a couple promotions, pitchers coming back, and the way this game is dragging on as we record. So we still have a lot to cover before the Guardians fade quietly into the night. My famous last words. Well, if you got Jake Berger, if you got Gavin Sheets, although he just got tossed out of the game before we started recording, you would have had some pretty good cards in Sorare, a revolutionary fantasy baseball game at Marketplace, transforming you into an owner with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from all 30 MLB teams. These games happen twice weekly and span in a 3 to 4 day cycle. And at the end of the week, MLB managers who rank at or near the top of their leaderboards can win a variety of rewards, which can include scarcity cards, game tickets, merch, signed jerseys, VIP experiences. Prices will depend on the competition. So head to sorare.com/lockdown. That's SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards. Set your lineup, start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, sorare.com/lockdown to start playing today. Set your lineup with maybe some White Sox hitters tomorrow, because I got one note for you, Jeff, here. The White Sox, they already hit the ball well this week against the Guardians, but they are typically not a good hitting team against right-handers. They have low average offense against right-handers, but they have an above-average offense against left-handers this year. Logan Allen goes on Thursday at 2 o'clock. You can listen to that on Sirius XM. If you got some White Sox on your Sorare team, might be a good day to start them against Logan Allen. I hope not, but the season says so far it is good.
Can I throw out one more depressing advanced stat?
Oh no, I can't take it anymore.
Ready? Andres Jimenez.
Oh no.
First percentile in hard hit rate, first percentile in average exit velocity, 7th in expected slugging, 10th in walk. He wasn't a big walk guy a year ago, but I mean, he at least had, those other ones were not high. They were in the 20s and 30s, but it's a pretty big gap to go from 30 to 1. And his Yeah, I mean, they're like, as it says there, regression. Why is he regressed? Well, he's, you look at it and it's a bunch of small numbers that have changed, but it's enough to be huge results. So the slugging percentage is just 51st percentile for expected slug a year ago, 7 right now. I mean, I love it, Andre. I was very excited for that extension, but oh my goodness, he's looking like the Andre of 2 years ago, unfortunately. The one who ended up in AAA, not the one who was an all-star a year ago.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, he's still punishing fastballs, but guess what? Teams are throwing him less fastballs because why would they, right? And that's part of the issue here. I mean, he's seeing, okay, so last year he saw 40% fastballs. It's down to 35%. All of his damage this year. Sinkers, good. Sliders, not great. Anything that moves or bends or breaks is pretty bad with Andres. And he did it okay. Well, not really. He got kind of lucky against curveballs a year ago, according to X-Stats. So, yeah, teams figured out, hey, don't throw the fastball as much anymore. And he is out in front on changeups a lot. And look, he'll have to adjust back. And this is where we started the show with hitting coaches and adjustments. And I don't know. I mean, look, you can't fire 26 players at a time. That's why managers and coaches get fired in every sport. Doesn't matter if it's baseball or whatever. But obviously, you're not going to fire the hitting coach on May 18th of his second season. Especially,
and I don't think his interview with Zach again was one of the most terse, terrible interviews I've seen recently. That didn't help.
Bad. Yeah, no, it didn't help. But yeah, I mean, you just gotta look. This team is built with what it is. We said this weeks ago, and it's sad that nothing has changed. But we said no big changes are coming. Like, you might hope that George Valera gets to AAA and he starts hitting, which he hasn't been great so far, but he's been walking and he's hit a couple of hard baseballs.
Which is similar to the story from last year.
Yeah, Will Brennan has been better the last couple of days.
He actually has a red rate, an expected red rate for, again, people get mad at stats, but when you're going through and seeing almost everyone being dark blue, expected batting average for Brennan is 60th percentile in baseball right now. So
and the slightly red is feeling good. Yeah. So yeah, they're just gonna have to figure it out. And I know we keep beating a dead horse here. They're in a bad division. The Twins lost to the Dodgers, and you get swept by the White Sox. Sure doesn't help because the White Sox looked like a laughing stock a few weeks ago, and now they're going to be feeling really good about themselves after they sweep the Guardians this week. The Guardians could win on Thursday, but I don't. The way things are going, it doesn't seem very likely. Yeah, I mean, all you do is have time, and you have a team of guys that did it last year, but now there's pressure. Again, we're beating a dead horse. I don't know what more we can say. And back to the Bo Naylor point too, and you're right about it's weird because you would normally say, okay, they don't want to call this guy up and sit him on the bench, but they've had Tyler Freeman up and he barely exists. They've had David Fry up, he barely exists. So it's hard to sit there and say, yeah, they want to call him up and they want to play him. They don't want to sit him on the bench.
That's been Gabby and Nolan and everyone else they have called up. They have had no problems.
And look, that was one of my concerns coming into the year. Look, usually we have a lot more.
Tito likes his vets.
We may have to do a YouTube special, Jeff, where we cut off the audio at half hour and then we do a YouTube bonus because the way this is going. But gosh, where was I at? Yeah, I was concerned coming into the year because usually a contending team has a Brandon Guyer, a Ryan Rayburn, and I know people didn't really like Mike Aviles, but you have those guys on the bench that generally Jordan Luplow, you have your bench with those guys who play a specific role and help you in a specific way. And this team doesn't have that. All you have is, I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with Tyler Freeman that we shouldn't see him. You and I aren't super high on his overall ceiling, but there's no reason he shouldn't be playing.
I think he's a Med Rosario. That
was
my comp. I think he is what we've seen. I think he's going to be a 2.5 win league average shortstop who's maybe a little below average defensively at short, but the upside to him is he could probably actually play another position. He could play second and be a plus defender. Yeah. He could occasionally flex to third. He's valuable.
This team is not a lefty masher away from being good. Just because if they were to find a Ryan Rayburn or a Jordan Luplow somehow, this team isn't going to turn around because of that, because that's one little element. But I'm just saying, those teams had good matchup guys. and they had guys on the bench that could play in a role, and they knew how to play in their role. And it's hard to do that with a young player, with a Tyler Freeman, with the Gabby Arias. And this is the point I've been saying too, is Tyler Freeman, for all whatever things you may not be excited about his profile, he had good at bats tonight. He hit the ball hard a couple times. I know he did swing and miss at a couple of fastballs.
Yeah, the last two
not,
were
okay.
Too.
They were not pretty, but
no.
I think he is more. I said this before,
but compared to others, it was the Mona Lisa.
He's more equipped to be able to not play for a week and come in and get a hard hit like he did the one at bat at least. Whereas Arias is not built for that. But that's all this team is filled with, because it's got so many prospects and so many young guys not in major league chances, and people already give up on Gabby Arias. And even though it always felt like he was never going to reach his potential because of the swing and miss, like a year ago, everybody wanted that guy to play. Guess what? He's had like 40 at bats this year, and everyone's like, all right, we're done with him. Let's see Tyler Freeman. And when he comes up
approach.
And when he comes up and has 40 at bats and he barely is hitting except for once a week, you're like, okay, let's move on. Like, you can't keep doing that. So this team just lacks veteran role players. There's nobody in that clubhouse that's trying to keep things going and has been through. I mean, you've got Jose and you've got Bieber. That's about it. Like Josh Bell, he's not really been on a ton of contending teams, at least not where he's played well.
Just the Padres. And that's the only one.
And he was garbage with the Padres. Yes. Mike Zunino, has been on. Oh, geez, I just allowed a triple to the White Sox. That's embarrassing. Zavala. Jake Berger with the triple there. All right. Well, we still need to discuss
noted speedster.
Yeah. We need to discuss Aaron Civale's rehab, McKenzie's rehab, Joey Cantillo. We need to discuss one other guy in the minors. We're going to do that all on YouTube. So if you're listening right now, head over to YouTube to catch the bonus part of the show. And as the Guardians roll on to lose the rest of this game, possibly. So thanks for listening on the audio. And
I'll just do the sign out so we can just hard date this time, which is go Guardians go.
Hey, you didn't end the episode this time.
I didn't kept my hand off the mouse.
Jeff, you made an adjustment. Look at that.
I did. I made an adjustment.
The last time we did that, we did the YouTube special where we did the normal sized audio and the long video. Jeff decided to end the episode early out of force of habit. That's what we do. And made my life a living nightmare for a night.
But you know what I did is I moved my hands. I made adjustments so I could make the correct play.
Is that the thing you're allowed to do?
You're allowed. I might be illegal. I got to check the books. Maybe it's like the spider tack. Maybe adjustments are.
Oh
illegal.
Yeah.
See, I think we figured it out, Justin. They didn't realize that the bases got bigger and it's easier to steal bases. They thought the new rule is you can't make adjustments. Boom. Figure it out.
Understand.
Somebody email them. Let them know. Let them know. Right. We solved the problem.
Jeff, you did it. Congratulations. Now we can move on to more pressing topics in the world, thankfully. Hey, look, they did steal a base tonight. Like Andres Jimenez was on. I think Quan was on for third and Jimenez was on first, and it was 2 outs. And it's like, all right, they're not going to throw through. So Jimenez stole second, but that was it. They have had, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 base runners to this point. They have 1 stolen base. Quan has been on base 3 times. Jimenez has been on base once. This year Straw has been on base twice. Yes, and he's out of the game now. Yeah, but like you've had, Quan's been on base twice. Jimenez was on base. He stole the base the only time he was on. Straw's been on base twice. Has not stolen a base tonight. Like, yes, they need to be running every time.
I do want to point out though that the Guardians have moved out of last place in OPS. That is now the Tigers. And do you know who's the team ahead of Cleveland? Who's the 3rd worst offense by OPS in baseball right now?
The Nationals?
The Houston Astros. Ooh. Do you know who's the 4th worst? The Seattle Mariners.
Whoa, don't get those Mariners fans mad. We've learned your lesson from that.
Hey, come at me. Everything I said about Colton Wong, they're agreeing with me right now. Okay, yeah. So I don't think...
but we didn't see Julio Rodriguez thinking.
No, we didn't. But everything I called about the lack of depth, looking good right now.
Yeah, Cal Raleigh's been a beast, and that's been about it.
No, and I'll just throw this in there since we're going long. I did a list, if you missed on Twitter, of since 2021 of the catchers who have had over 10 defensive value score on Fangraphs and over 100 runs created plus. Yes, the Nino is on that list, weirdly enough. Cal Raleigh, who you mentioned as well. But what's interesting to me is 6 out of those 9 guys were college guys. And the other thing I tweeted out today is it's getting to the point with like, it is so hard to find a halfway decent catcher. I feel like it's like quarterbacks. Like they used to say every year draft a quarterback because if you hit on it, the value is so much higher. I'm kind of getting to the point where I feel like you should draft 2 catchers every year. One who is Jack Payton. We like.
I am just going to continue to say this every podcast now. I'm going to mention his name subliminally and hope that it just it somehow manifests. I don't know.
He's a lefty too, right? They like left-handed hitting.
No, he's a righty.
Right. Oh, then they won't take him. That's why I took Logan Ice over Sean Murphy, was a lefty versus righty. They liked left-handed catchers. At least that was the thing at the time.
Left-handed hitting catchers. Let's be clear.
Yes.
So no one thinks you're saying no catchers hit left-handed. Yes, Jeff knows that.
Yeah. But just to go, basically my statement was like, I was looking at some stuff. It's like, you should draft one high ceiling defensive guy and hope his offense can come to the middle, and then draft one high ceiling offensive guy and hope his defense can come to the middle. And if both work out, you're golden. But if neither work out, guess what? That's what's going to happen most of the time because they're more. But that's, we talked about Logan Clark off the air yesterday and how it sounds like he's really put some time and work into like his physique. And I know you were talking about how good he looked, and it's like, yeah, you should. Justin's a fan, but they should be doing that
based on one Instagram picture.
Yeah, based on one Instagram picture. But hey, it's clear he's working, which is
we are looking for signs of life here, okay?
Because there is no catching depth in this system.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
It's like in day 3. Or even late in day 2, take guys like, Roberto Perez, I make fun of all the time, but that's a great success story for this team. And he was all defense,
39th rounder.
Yeah, all defense, no bat. Like, take guys like that. This needs to be more of a thing they do. So I'm getting off my catcher soapbox, but I'm just
I think we need to do
because I think honestly, like, again, look at Bryce Harper, look at some of these other players, and again, it's interesting that it's mostly college guys like JT Realmuto, Danny Jansen. And I can't think who the other. And like, again, is Danny Jansen really a starter? Like, he's never been given starter minutes, but he qualified for this.
No, I don't know. But by the way, Dan Iasonia's strike zone has completely just eroded tonight. He just called 2 strikes on Miles, or 1 strike on Miles Straw. Gavin Sheets got kicked out, and Miles Straw just got hosed on a call too. So Dan Iasonia's strike zone. Not that it really matters because the Guardians could have a.
He's just trying to get home.
Yeah, I get it. He's probably going to get a Chicago dog.
Yeah, but just to go back to it's like, just draft catchers. Just keep drafting them. Hope you.
I think
one.
We should do an episode. Just we didn't have enough time for it last time on the draft episode, but go through the history of catchers in this team, who they've drafted, and just talk about what like forever people are talking about like
Paul Bacco is a very successful one. Kelly Stennett, another draft pick, very successful.
Yeah, but they just have. They have a hard time developing hitters. They've had a hard time developing.
But
outfielders. Catchers become worse.
What I finally remember I was going to say. The thing with Bo Naylor is like, if he wasn't a catcher, he'd already be up. And that's the thing. Like, his bat would play. Like, and he's athletic enough. He could be an outfielder. He could be an infielder. He was
a third baseman in high school.
Yeah. Like, he would be up. The only reason he's not up is because he's a catcher. And that's the other thing is it's like, and it's hard to develop a prep guy like him in general. So
look, except for, so, when he was drafted, everybody thought the bat
50-50.
Well, everybody thought the bat will be ahead of, if he catches, the bat will be ready before the defense is.
Yes.
That was always the case. And then 2021 hit, and he was bad offensively. Everyone started getting worried. And then last year, he figured out the bat again, and the defense wasn't like awful, but you're like, okay, once again, now we're back to the point where the bat is ahead of the defense. And I did some digging on the video archives today. Hopefully my employer's not listening to this. No, I did this during my lunch break, but he's had a hard.
I did that catcher data on my lunch break as well. Sometimes you use baseball to decompress, even though it's maybe our biggest stressor.
Yes, right now it's just depressing. But I was just kind of looking at like, okay, why is he throwing out so few runners? And I looked at the Louisville series, and like there was a play where because he's just having a hard time throwing runners out. There was a play in Louisville series last week where guy stole third, and there was a right-hander up, and the guy had a huge jump. And it was like, okay, well, he had no chance to throw that runner out. And then he threw it to John Kenzie-Noel at third base, who muffed the throw. And John Kenzie-Noel is not a third baseman, so that was pathetic. He had another guy in the mound. I think it was Daniel Norris, who just gave him no chance to throw a runner out at second. Throw was a little bit high, so it wouldn't have mattered. And then There was one play that really looked bad, actually. It was Zach Plesac had just walked to batter, and Ellie De La Cruz, the Reds' top prospect, was on second base. And as the guy wanted to take first base in this walk, Ellie De La Cruz decided to take off for third base when Bo Naylor was throwing the ball back to Plesac. Guess what? It is not a dead ball after a walk. It's a dead ball after an intentional walk, but it's not a dead ball. Oh, look at that. Ahmed Rosario, ground out, double play to end the game. What else is new? I feel like we're back to the Groundhog's Day theme. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize this. When there's a walk, the ball is not dead. So Ellie De La Cruz saw Bo Naylor. He pulled a Jose Ramirez. He saw Bo Naylor throw the ball back to Zach Plesac, and he took off for third base. And that counts as a steal on Naylor. And, unfortunately, that's just, not heads-up baseball. It's heads-up baseball by Ellie De La Cruz. You give him credit for that. But there are just little bits of nuances there to that. And like we said, the blocking, the framing's not bad. The blocking, we know there are issues. And again, I had this conversation yesterday. I know Zunino's not hitting, and you figure, okay, the defense is bad. You figure, I'd like to have some good offense if we're not going to get good defense. And I agree with that. I definitely do. And if they wanted to make that change tomorrow and say, okay, we've had enough of this madness, we're going to say, we'll hope the defense gets better, but we need the offense. I would say, okay, that's fine. But I do also understand the financial commitment to Zunino and wanting to have Naylor ready in all aspects when they can, when they bring him up. Because here's the thing. If you decide that, okay, it's time to go to Naylor and you're done with Zunino, and really what will happen is they will be done with Gallagher, I would hope, and they would figure out some sort of timeshare between Zunino and Naylor. But if they do that and Naylor doesn't work out or something happens, where are you? What happens? You're done. And and you also mentioned the other day, are they too what was the word you used? I said risk averse, but what did you say? Passive? Yeah, passive.
Yes, passive.
And risk averse, not totally different concepts here, right? They are. I understand being risk averse with this decision because the catching depth is so bad where if something happens to Naylor and this doesn't work out, you are literally up the creek without a paddle because
remember
you have
when
nobody else to go to.
Our draft, and I took Lavastida, Fry, and Naylor.
I know.
And there was no one left. Like
I took Manny Mejias, who's hurt now. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no
Jose Cedeno. Right. If this Bo Naylor thing doesn't end up working, if he's not ready this year,
Lavastida just got through waivers.
I know.
Fry is
he's barely a catcher.
Sure. It's like
and you're still trying to contend somehow.
Well, not literally. I guess now literally means both, but not literally. But they have nothing right now legitimate behind him. They have nothing they can go to if Bo Naylor struggles.
That's what I'm saying. So this is a risk-averse decision because of that. And look, sometimes it is paralyzing when you can't make a decision. But there are I'm not saying I wouldn't support tomorrow them calling up Bo Naylor and figuring out a way to go with Naylor, Fry, and Zunino the rest of the year and see what happens. I think Zunino is going to be here for the length of the year no matter what. Anyway,
and again, I'll point out, I think it was after the show, I went and searched Mike Zunino streaky, and there's every single article from every single year he played. This is unfortunately
he's gone through this.
Yes, yeah. This is not unusual. He is, and again, I think he still leads his team in home runs. He tattooed the ball for a month. Now he can't touch the ball. June or July, he's going to be the best catcher in baseball. That is Mike Zunino. Welcome to the roller coaster.
Hopefully that's true. Hopefully the Guardians can survive until then. Hopefully they play the Twins the first week of June. They play the White Sox again next week. They play the Cardinals, who really stink. But hey, they made the White Sox, who stink, really much better. So I don't know. It's hard to know what's going to snap them out of their funk.
Again, Detroit is not very good, and they took care of them. Game is officially over, 7-2. With it, it's
been over, Jeff. It's been over.
Oh, I clicked off. But come on, you didn't comment that it ended on a Med Rosario.
I did, Jeff. Thanks for listening to your partner here. I did comment on that.
Man, I was just pulling
given up. You have just given up time tonight. I understand.
I have. I was looking up Victor is tourist stats, trying to find some catching hope.
That's
all right, that's where I am.
So we've gone deep enough on the approach issues, the catching issues, roster issues. Let's talk about. I guess these are the positives. So Aaron Civale, when you're listening to this at some point, he will make a start today. He will make what do they say, 50 pitches for the Clippers on Thursday. That's a great sign. He probably will have another start next week. And I don't know. I would say probably 2 starts. That's what I would say. So Triston McKenzie will start Saturday, and same thing, about 50 pitches on Saturday. He'll start again next week, probably 75 to 80 pitches, and then I would imagine he'll need 1 more start, and Civale probably only needs 2. I still am in the camp that hey, something's going to happen before this decision needs to be made. Like, we know Peyton Battenfield is one of the decisions here.
Yeah, he's gone. Like, he hasn't been good enough. Let's be, he was surprisingly good for when he was called up, but in general, he's a guy who, again, he could be the Kirk McCarty of this year. He may not be when the dust settles. He might come off the roster when they need to add McKenzie.
Yeah. Yeah, he might. Unfortunately, he might. There are other ways to go with this. Yeah, but I guess the real question is going to be, what happens when McKenzie is healthy? You've got 2 guys who,
and this is where the silliness of some people I saw thinking like Gavin Williams would be up this month. I'm like, no, they got sort through all this other stuff first,
and it has nothing to do with the fact that he had a bad start last time out.
Tanner Bibby's worst start was the one before he got called up, people.
Right. And then that was out of necessity. I agree. Yeah. But at the same time, like, they weren't worried about his confidence or anything else like that. Like, he was going to be just fine. And he has been just fine. But yeah, I really am not sure what they do. Do you go to a 6-man rotation? Do you maybe send Xavier Curry? I know Curry doesn't deserve to go down, but like, do you send Xavier Curry down? Do you send, there's no one in the bullpen you can send down, I suppose, but like,
Curry probably goes down, especially because he got multiple innings today, right?
He did. I mean, yeah, I guess you could send him down. You could go to 6.
I mean, I don't think they'll go 6-man, because it's Tito doesn't go new school all that often, and he's set.
Well, no one's using a 6-man.
I know.
Even the Angels, who have a unique situation with Shohei Ohtani, don't even do 6-man, which they probably should.
There's been a few points where like Tampa or people like that with kind of the opener profile.
Yeah, well,
So, Bieber is going to be here to stay. Quantrell is here to stay. And
how much longer is Bieber here to stay?
We'll say this. If you want me to come up to tell you about my fake New York Mets trade that I was telling Justin about before we got on air, I will reveal it tomorrow based on the comments.
The New York Mets, you say, huh? Interesting.
New York Mets who have Tyler McGill starting for them, who's a reliever and have a really bad pen. But you look at this team, one of Allen or Bybee is likely to go down. That's what I've been saying all along. And it's not a knock on either of those players. They have been better than you could have hoped for a rookie. They have been fantastic. Part of me thinks that it's more likely to be Bybee because of the ceiling and, the fact that he's had less time in the minors. He's far from a complete project because I think he's going to be an ace someday. And that also allows them to manipulate service time. Logan Allen's the only lefty in the pen, which gives them in the rotation, I should say, gives them a different look. So there's a lot of reasons why I think it's probably Allen with Bybee ending up in a killer AAA rotation.
Yeah, and if you send Curry down too, same thing, you can stretch him out, but
I don't think you can mess with it. He's perfect in this role right now as the long guy. I think you let him stay. You go 5-man. Like I think you go. I think that the right call is to go 5-man.
I know the thing is, ideally, he wouldn't be a long man because when you need that, it's not means your stars aren't going long enough, or you just aren't close enough in games to go to a 1-man relief, situation.
And he's great in the 1-man relief. So he's a Swiss Army knife for the back of the pen. He's earned that. It is interesting though if you go to Fangraphs, because I was looking at WAR. Hunter Gaddis has 0.4 WAR. Like, for his time up here, he actually earned half a win. Like, they have some, again. If there's ever a world where you could flip a relief arm, not that the pen has been spectacular, but there's a few names here or there for a bat. That's the road to improving this team, because I still think Gaddis can work in the pen. I think Curry can work in the pen. I think they've got a lot of fun pieces. Or if you can let Civale pitch for a month, look decent before his arm falls off again, and then flip him to a needy team, I'm all for that.
Yeah. So I'm still in the camp that something could end up happening before then, because sometimes these things happen, but sometimes you got to make a tough decision. And I would hate to see them go back to AAA. And, for as good as Bybee has been, and he is definitely one of their best 5 pitchers right now, without a doubt. Yes. I don't think that's a question.
So is Allen.
Yeah, so is Allen. But I mean, he was only in AAA this year. Like, he had never been in AAA before this season. He was at this time last year. He was still in Lake County.
Yeah.
I remember the day he was called up to Akron. So, yeah. I mean, it has been very quick for him. And I'm not saying he really needs more development. I don't think striking out AAA hitters really is going to help him. But yeah, I tend to agree with that's the way things are going to go.
Let's be fun. Let's talk about how fun that rotation. Let's say it unfortunately is Bybee, just temporarily. He would be back with Bybee, Williams, and Cantillo. I mean, you and I both heavily debated putting Cantillo in our top 10 prospects. He was very close due to health.
If he had been healthy last year, yeah.
Yeah, he's had, some control issues and some ups and downs, but no one hits him hard. No one hits him hard.
No, he doesn't give up a lot of hard contact. He is hard. Look, I talked about it a few weeks ago on the show too. He has extremely low home run rate, which is kind of funny for this team because they love guys who let the ball go in the air. It is hard to get the ball in the air against Cantillo. For him, it's just been about health and walks, and the walk rate's a little bit high. And as I said, he followed up that 13 strikeout performance with a kind of I don't want to say a dud, but he just couldn't hit the zone. It was a dud. And then his next start after that wasn't fantastic, but it was an improvement. He has just got to I think he's just got to trust his stuff more, that his fastball at 93, 94 can play like 96 in the zone because he is lanky and has extension and it has carry. And, look how good the Tampa Bay Rays have done with this. Like, they're like, hey, if you have nasty stuff, just throw it down the middle, let the stuff do its thing, and you'll be fine. And that worked for Tyler Glass now. It's worked for other guys. I think
kind of worked for Kevin Kelly that they got from us, right?
Yeah. Cantillo's got a fastball that has life on it, and he's got a good curveball that's gotten better shape, and the changeup's good. You throw it down, close it down the middle, and you kind of let things play as they might, and maybe he'll be fine. So I still don't know if we'll see in the majors this year, but now you've got Cantillo at AAA, you got Gavin Williams at AAA. You'll have probably
Gaddis is still starting, and Plesac. And then one of those arms. I mean, it's an interesting. I mean, you can make a case that 5-man rotation might be. So for all of our negativity, let's say it's Bybee.
Better than the Cardinals rotation.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't Bybee, Cantillo, Gaddis, Williams, Plesac better than at least maybe 2-3 other teams' rotations?
It's better than St. Louis. Yeah, St. Louis' rotation right now is Flaherty, Montgomery, Liberatore, Wainwright. They have a 6-man, Matz and Michaelis. I would. Jack Flaherty's been weird lately, and Jordan Montgomery's pretty good. Matthew Liberatore pitched a whale of a game. Wainwright, Matz, and Michaelis are not great.
They give Michaelis so much money too. Oof.
Yeah, the Rockies rotation. I mean, Austin Gomber, whom obviously made the Guardians.
I have an idea. They need a pitcher, right? Why don't we trade them Zach Plesac for Nolan Jones since they don't want to play Nolan Jones and we need a power hitter?
Too sad. I'm too sad for that. Another guy
I don't want to play him.
I am too sad for that, Jeff. I can't play that game today. Shawn Rapp, guy we both like, is now at Lake County. It took Josh Wolf getting hurt to go up.
Is he the top left-handed reliever in the Guardians system who's not on the 40-man?
I have to think about that. So you're saying,
but he might be
the best left-handed reliever, not
Tim Herron.
Henches or Henches. Yeah,
yeah. Well, Henches to me isn't a prospect anymore. So, but
that's true.
He's got to be at least in that discussion, I think.
No, I don't really know who else.
I can't think of anyone else who really blows me over. He's got some good stuff.
I can't even think of a left-handed reliever, unless you're talking about the AAA fillers like Barger and
who's on the disabled list now?
Yeah. The other options are Randy Labout, and that's about it. Yeah, no, it's literally Shawn Rapp by default. No, he should be fun. He's got a nasty arm angle, and I'm excited to see him the next time the captains come home. So
yeah.
All right. Well, we should plug this one more last time. Thursday.
Prepare for the sweep. Get your brooms ready.
Thursday at 2:10, Logan Allen will try to avoid the sweep against Dylan Cease. So the good thing is the Guardians couldn't hit any of the White Sox worst pitchers. Now they got to face their best pitcher. So that's fun. Tom Hamilton, Jim Rosenhaus have your hometown calls. Search for Guardians on your Sirius XM app or wherever you listen to Sirius XM. I am straight up not having a good time. I have to call it. This is straight up not fun, Jeff. That's it.
It's not.
I am out of words at this point. Me think, why say many words when they're all depressing? That's all I got.
It's all cat litter. It's all litter box. It's just, I understand the frustrations, and the crazy thing is they can turn it around. Like we can. Let's end positively. Let me turn around. Quan is, he's below where he was a year ago, but a lot of data shows he's been the same guy. If he can get back up to a 110, Wern's created plus. If Josh Naylor had shown signs of life before his injury, if he can start, like a lot of these, Jimenez is a separate issue. Okay. And, Zunino, like I said, he's up and down. But like if Zunino can get one of his hot months and Quan and Naylor start leaning into that expected stats, you get Jose back. I mean, losing Jose is maybe we're underrating how big that blow is. Who was also showing better signs of life. Well, Brennan has played better over the last 2 weeks. There are things that can turn around very soon. We'll do that kind of position review and talk about, okay, how, well, maybe we should make it like blackjack and just be like, okay, do we need to double down, or we need to, go hit and get an improvement, or do we need to get something out of there? Well, I don't know. Again, comment if you like that really poor metaphor. But there are routes to this team pulling it around. We don't want to lean into, yes, they did it last year because the schedule is different. But luckily the
24-6 in September, if you're counting on that again, I get it. Cause look, there's a chance here with all the doom and gloom and the depressing tone we've had tonight. For what it's worth, doesn't matter who has been on this team. Corey Kluber, Justin Masterson, Asdrubal Cabrera, Nick Swisher, Francisco Lindor, or not Frankie Lindor, Jason Kipnis, Carlos Santana, Yonder Alonso. It doesn't matter who's on this team. For whatever reason, Terry Francona teams are always better in the second half. So I think there's a very careful lesson to be learned there, that this team come, the last week of July could start playing well and into September again and be like, look, you guys back on May 18th sounded like idiots because you were all depressed and doom and gloom. So that could happen, but it's just one of those things where like, you don't want to have to rely on that every year because it's not always sustainable. Now the schedule has changed, things aren't guaranteed, and that's stressful baseball.
So thank you all for listening, rating and reviewing, allowing this to be a therapy for Justin and I. Both of us kind of didn't want to do a show. I mean, we wanted to do a show, but we didn't. Like, it was just, it's hard to get started when it's been like this.
I contemplated going to bed before even jumping on the podcast with
part of me was like, I know, we're not supposed to take random nights off, but part of me wanted to be like, mental health, we're taking the night. Because Mike Clevenger is just, if there's one person I wanted to beat this week, it was him.
He wanted to beat the Guardians. So.
And I warned about that last night, right? I'm like, he'll find an extra gear for spite. Never discount the power of spite. It's what kept my grandma alive to the age 95. Just lived on spite.
I can have a follow-up comment to that. So good, but I am not.
I'm sure you could. I love my grandma dearly, but she was. I wasn't on the receiving end, but boy, did I see that.
I will not say the same thing.
You didn't love my grandma?
Some real therapy for you right now.
Wow. No, I'm kidding.
You want to get real deep.
Thank you all for listening, and go Guardians, go. For the love of God, go steal a base, hit a home run, do something. I'm just gonna sit there and poke you with a stick and make sure you're not dead offensively, like I'm dead inside.